Crime is the hot topic tonight. The Shreveport City Council is giving grants to local nonprofits to help reduce crimes within the youth. Thousands of dollars invested now to prevent homicides in the future. Good evening, I'm Chelsea Burrows.
In Northwest Louisiana, legislators are heading to Baton Rouge tomorrow for a special session on crime, addressing the lack of officers, tougher policing, and giving more immunity to police officers. Thank you for joining us, everyone. I'm Madison Edwards. KTBS 3 News Weekend starts now.
Live and on your side, this is KTBS 3 9 o'clock news hour on KPXJ CW21.
The Shreveport City Council is trying to reduce crime by putting money towards organizations that help with crime prevention.
KTBS 3's Madison Beam is here to share more on the council's investments. Hey, Madison.
Last year, there were 74 homicides. This year, 10 lives have already been claimed by violence. Councilman Grayson Butcher says investing in programs like the Gingerbread House will make a difference in our homicide rates in the future.
We've got good organizations in the city that I think if we fund them properly and they're managed properly, we might see an end to this.
The council approved giving $35,000 to the Gingerbread House. This initiative helps build cases to prosecute abusers and hopefully prevent them from committing future crimes. The Gingerbread House helps child abuse victims and juvenile witnesses receive special care when gathering information about the crime. They also provide counseling so the children can heal and not hold on to trauma.
That's where we see cycles of abuse repeated, and we want to break those. And at the same time, we want to make sure that offenders are prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law so that they don't go on to victimize another child in our community.
The council also gave $32,000 towards Project Celebration, which the council also said helps in crime prevention. Project Celebration helps provide services such as medical, personal, and court advocacy to adult survivors of violent crimes.
What these two agencies right here are doing is extremely critical to the increase that we have had with domestic violence incidents, and then with the children that are facing the trauma of losing parents and grandparents at the hands of violence.
To find out how to donate to those organizations, visit ktbs.com. Back to y'all.
All right, I'm so glad to hear that something is being done about this. Thanks, Madison. The legislative special session on crime starts tomorrow.
Shreveport and state officials gathered today to speak about their concerns with some of the bills and topics that will be discussed during the session. KTBS 3's Sydney Lane has more.
Northwest Louisiana representatives are traveling to Baton Rouge tomorrow to attend a special session on crime. They're concerned new bills will not address crime the right way. Senator Sam Jenkins says it's time to not only be tough on crime, but smart on crime.
It's one thing to be hard on crime, but we think it's a better thing to be smart on crime. We just think some of the bills that have been filed are not being very smart.
Senator Jenkins explained what he believes should be done that follows his message of being smart on crime and not just hard on crime.
The states that are getting it right, number one, they're addressing mental and behavioral health issues. Yeah. That is a large driver of what's bringing people before the criminal justice system, but we're not addressing it. They're addressing drug programs. There are a lot of people addicted to drugs, and we're not intervening at any kind of level. So what we're wanting to do is begin to pick up some of those smart things and invest in some of the things we're talking about now. A summer job program, teacher responsibility, financial literacy programs, and then address unemployment, address poverty.
There is a possibility that a law made in 2016 called Raise the Age could be undone in the special session. This law raised the age that a person could be prosecuted and incarcerated from 17 to 18. The officials at the conference believe there are better ways to keep juveniles from committing crimes.
We know that when you give children something to do, they are less likely to get in trouble. Right. From the parish standpoint, we have just made $20 million renovations in our park in Caddo Parish, and we have several parks, and we have a litany of activities for children to do during the summertime and whenever school is out. As well as we have plans to have a road show where we will partner with the city, with the state, with the parish, and those NGOs to make sure that the community is aware of the resources that are available for them.
The special session on crime will convene Monday at 1 p.m. Final adjournment should be no later than 6 p.m. on March 6. Sydney Lane, KTBS 3 News.
A shooting tonight in the 71109 zip code of Shreveport. At around 6:15 tonight on Cleveland Avenue 2 and Broadway in the Moortown neighborhood, police are saying 2 males were shot. One is dead, the other with non-life-threatening injuries. This marks the 10th homicide in Shreveport this year. There are no suspects at this time, and we'll keep you updated on the story on air and online at ktbs.com.
And in more crime news, the man accused of shooting an Arkansas officer will see court soon in April. Kenneth Smith has been charged with attempted capital murder, 4 counts of attempted murder, first-degree battery, and aggravated residential burglary. Police were dispatched to a domestic disturbance when they were met with gunfire from Smith, who fled on motorcycle. The Queens Lieutenant Chad Bradshaw was shot in the shoulder. After being charged several hours, Smith was arrested. He remains in jail on a $1 million bond.
Switching gears to talk about the nice day that we experienced across the area. Had sunshine this afternoon right here in Shreveport. It topped out at 55. Now the daily low so far, let me say that, 36 degrees, and compare this to the averages you see on screen there. And also reminding you we're actually in a rainfall surplus on the year. So a clear cold night tonight. Frost will be widespread. Sunny and mild tomorrow, which is President's Day. And then a midweek warming trend is certainly shaping up and will be very nice. 37 degrees, that's the current temp right here in Shreveport at the time. Texarkana with the beautiful city lights there for you. 41 degrees and the wind noting to be near calm. So overnight we drop to right around 30 as a minimum temperature. May get there and actually bump up a degree or two right near sunrise. And then a snapshot for tomorrow, more sunshine and 63. But hey guys, how about temps near 80 in midweek next week? I'll take it and talk about it coming up.
Sounds like it's too good to be true, but I trust you, Neil. Thank you very much. Hundreds of runners showed up this morning in Texarkana for the 16th annual Run the Line Half Marathon.
3, 2, 1!
The race is unique because it allows runners to run in one race that goes through 2 states. Nearly 500 runners signed up for this year's event. Proceeds benefit Partnership for the Pathway, which builds safe walking and bicycling trails around Texarkana. The nonprofit was founded in 2008. This year's race raised about $40,000.
Our very first project was the trail in Spring Lake Park, but we've also helped in Arkansas with the trail, and we're currently working on the Bringle Trail in Texarkana, Texas.
Runners from 20 different states and 2 different countries came to support.
In honor of Black History Month, we now turn our attention to an Academy Award-winning actor with Texas roots.
I'm gonna make it do what it do, baby. Yeah.
In 2004, Jamie Foxx became the first African-American actor to receive 2 Oscar nominations in the same year. Foxx won Best Actor for the Ray Charles movie. He was also nominated for Best Supporting Actor for his role in Collateral. Foxx, whose real name is Eric Malone Bishop, was born in Terrell, Texas. He chose the stage name Fox as a tribute to the comedian Red Fox. And still ahead tonight in our hometown Patriot, Rick Rowe brings you the local story of a fallen soldier and how his family is keeping his memory alive. Stick with us.
Dakota Hughes had just graduated from high school right here at Huntington High School when he went off to war in the Middle East. At 19, Dakota was gone. The thing that his mother Donna feared most was the loss of his memory. This happens a lot when parents lose a child. To keep that memory alive, she's done it in books full of pictures and words.
These are what I call my Save Me books. When Dakota passed, I wanted a way to have memories of him, not just my memories, but from other people. Okay, baby, I'm on my way. That was always my first sentence to you from our phone calls. Well, needless to say, I will see you again. Look after us down here on your throne. I will always love you in my heart forever. I'm going in. And this was the lady that took care of my son to make sure he didn't get in trouble while he was at boot camp. Your laugh and your smile are going to be the hardest things to live without on a Saturday night. I love you so much. Petey does too. I'm promising you now that I will never let him forget you. She was a counselor at my son's school. She cut up 8 years of yearbooks, of her own personal yearbooks, to take Dakota's picture for every year he was at her school, and made this page for me. All my memories of me and you are slowly fading away, but people were constantly talking about you, and best believe nobody ever forgets about you, and your name is always being talked about at Huntington High School. It's kind of hard to think about it because you're gone, but I know I'll see you again, but not soon enough. I remember the time Hughes would come over to my house and play Xbox, and he also taught my wife how to swim. Best times we had, we will never forget you, brother. I will treasure every minute of the time that I had you in my first grade class. I honor you in what you have stood for, what you made of yourself. So the Patriot Guard came and stood from the entrance of South Park Mall. People that had never met him came and wrote something just to say what an honor it was to have known his name. So for me, everything, you know, these are on my bad days when I miss him. I go sit in his room and I look at his stuff or the flags or these. I don't know everything Dakota did or didn't do or hasn't done, but these stories give me into glimpses that I might not have remembered. I was on radio watch when Hughes passed, and hearing his name over the radio was one of the hardest moments of my life. I always try to keep the words of General Patton in mind. We should not mourn the men who died, rather we should thank God that such men lived.
And if you'd like to nominate a Hometown Patriot, go to ktbs.com/hometownpatriot or send an email to hometownpatriot@ktbs.com. And still ahead tonight, meteorologist Neil Shaw has an update of your forecast.
Live and on your side, this is KTBS 3, 9 o'clock news hour on KPXJ CW21.
Welcome back. Growing up, this Shreveport native has always had an eye for fashion, and lately he's been apparently tearing some things up in the fashion industry in New York. Joining us now is Stephen Godot. How are you?
Good, good. Glad to finally be here.
Yes, finally got you in here. So you grew up in Shreveport. What was that like?
I mean, it was an experience. You know, I got the full family thing. I'm proud of, the family, very family oriented. I think Shreveport is a great place to be raised. Also, basically inspires you to grow, go see the world, and I think it keeps the humbleness,
Absolutely. Yeah, I love that for you. And so what inspired you to get in the fashion industry?
My parents had a lot to do with it. They were real big on style. Basically, they would keep me, fresh, of course. My parents, they always stayed tailored. My mom was tailored. My dad, he was very fashion forward. And I just always had a niche for it. It's always like my Sixth Sense was the original name of my brand. Yeah. It was called Studio Sixth Sense, and it converted over to Stephen Godot. So I think that, my Sixth Sense was my sense of style. So I just
I
used
love
it.
how you put that.
Yeah.
Yes, that's so cool. So I also wanted to ask you, do you have any like current projects that you're working on right now?
So yeah, I have a few things coming up. Right now, I am working on a huge show. It's called Maison de Godot, the House of Godot. So it's Maison de Godot in French. And what it does, last year it became so huge, the expectations like exceeded. So we decided to do a part 2. So this year we're doing bigger and better. It's in Dallas, Texas. It's going to be at the Tower Club on the 48th floor, the best view in Dallas. And I'm just excited. We sold out show. So I'm ready.
I am so excited for you. That's great news. Is there anything else that you'd like to add?
Yeah, I am coming out with a new signature collection. So me being a designer, my struggle was I always wanted to design art. And I never designed like for the everyday person. Like everybody's not going to wear a wedding gown or couture every day. So I had to find another niche, of course, and have the revenue coming in. So I have a brand that's called Stephen Godot Signature. Basically, it's like everyday wear. It could be a dress like that, but it'll have like the logo or somewhere board. Everyday woman could wear, everyday man can wear. The slogan is called A Lifestyle Ready to Wear, and that's what I want my brand to be, Stephen Godot, to cover all walks of life as an individual.
Yes, that's actually what I love about your designs. It's classy, it's beautiful, and I just love it.
Thank you. Yeah. I aim for timeless. I want you to be able, like I said this before, I want you to be able to go pull out a dress now, 10 years from now, I want you to pull it out and say, that's that Stephen Godot dress.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
And for more information, go to ktbs.com.
Now, with your Mega 3 Storm Team Doppler radar forecast, here's meteorologist Neil Shaw in the Mega 3 Storm Team Weather Center.
Once again, a good Sunday evening to you, Arklatex. We're wrapping up this portion of the holiday weekend, that being that some folks may have the day off tomorrow. But lights of the cities right here of Shreveport-Bossier on our Department of Transportation and Development cam overlooking I-20 in Bossier City. It is a very quiet night, but it's really getting colder. Currently 37, Shreveport Regional Airport, and no wind is noted. At Logansport, 34 degrees. So again, the promotion of a hefty frost overnight, well, that's taking place, shaping up as we speak. 32 at DeQueen compared to Longview, Texas at 40, but Carthage, Texas has cratered out to 31 degrees at this hour, Ruston 33, and right there in Natchitoches Parish, the report is 34 degrees. With no rain to show, no precipitation to show with our Mega 3 Storm Team Doppler radar, and a clear sky area-wide across the area. Lots of rain pouring into the state of Florida. That actually put the brakes on the Daytona 500 down that way. And another storm system well to the west of us that's taking a more northerly track. All we'll see next is this band of clouds move by during the day on Monday. And after that, a clear sky and a warming trend. For tonight, no doubt low 30s area-wide, maybe upper 20s across Arkansas. Then reaching the low end of the 60s tomorrow. That snapshot shows that is an average high temperature as we look at this stage of the game. And for President's Day, that's the top number expected here in Shreveport. A milder afternoon than what we saw today. And this is mapped out with precision cast. We go to early in the day, right around sunrise tomorrow, into the 60-degree range or just above during the afternoon hours of Monday. And then by Tuesday morning, look at this, not as cold. A south wind will pick up, and that will push temperatures into the mid-70s on Tuesday. So here's the wind set up. A definitive south wind through the day, and that's going to replace the chillier conditions that we're experiencing for now and make it a very mild mid part of the week with a south wind continuing into Tuesday. There is a front on the way, but it's going to be a front that moves into and through the area late in the day on Thursday and create rain to the east of us, and then it'll cool off a bit on Friday. So again, look at these mild afternoons ahead, the 70s and 40s and 50s overnight. And then by Thursday, we're right there just within reach of 80 degrees on that day. Cooling down again on Friday, but no rain, no plausible chance of rain in the forecast there. But that sets us up for another beautiful weekend next weekend. I don't know about you, but I'll take all this in consideration and plan ahead for the good weather.
Absolutely. Chelsea? I'm so excited for this good weather, especially for Wednesday.
And you're welcome anytime.
And keep it here. Daniel Brown has an update on the legal issues facing LSU's running back Trey Holly.
Now, with Daniel Brown, you're watching KTBS 3 Sports.
Trey Holly's arrest for 3 felonies this past week, which includes attempted second-degree murder, came as a shock. The currently suspended LSU running back says he's, quote, 100% innocent. The redshirt freshman made the declaration in a social media post Saturday evening saying he was falsely identified, accused, and arrested. Holly adds that he was at home, which is where the incident took place, and because it's an ongoing investigation, he cannot give many details. Reports say it stems from a fight in early February where a woman and a man were shot. For more information about Holly's arrest and the incident itself, you can find the story on the KTBS app or visit online at ktbs.com/sports. Well, changing gears, LSU baseball had to sweat out their first 2 games of the season, but Sunday afternoon, it was a much different story in their rematch against VMI. The Tigers already up 2-0 in the first. Jarrett Jones at the plate facing Andrew Jones. A fly ball to center field. Trey Morgan having trouble finding it. In the sun, it drops in front of him. Well, I guess technically behind him there. Jones booking it around the bag, slides in for the triple as the run scores. LSU up 5-0 after 1. Top of the second, Brady Neal throwing out Trey Morgan on the base pass. Morgan just not having a good day there. Stephen Milam applying the tag. We'll move to the bottom of the third. 2 in scoring position for Michael Braswell. The third, Cole Jenkins can't make this diving grab. Braswell on his horse makes it to second safely off of Clark Driscoll. LSU up 7-0. Later in the inning, 8-0. Bases loaded for Brady Neal. Neal gone. A grand slam. 6 RBI for him. The Tigers win it 27-5 in 7. Louisiana Tech baseball heads into President's Day feeling good as they have a 4-game sweep of Northern Colorado with an 8-0 win this afternoon. Dalton Davis had 3 RBI with 1 on a bases-loaded walk and a double that brought in 2 in the 6th. Caden Copeland earned the win on the mound with 5 innings of work with 4 strikeouts and 2 hits. Turning our attention to basketball, Louisiana Tech's win against last-place FIU was expected considering the Bulldogs are tied for first place in Conference USA, but that doesn't mean it was easy. The Bulldogs held a 17-point lead at the end of the first half, but with that comfortable margin, Tech was outscored by 10 in the second to give the Panthers some life. Head coach Talvin Hester says the lack of focus was something he blames on himself, but he was happy how other guys showed they could be an option down the final stretch of the regular season.
I think it showed our team and myself and my staff that we can believe in some other guys and get guys some rest for longer periods of time. I think that, within the last homestand, I think different guys showing they can play different styles. I think that, ultimately, along with the conference race, we got to go to a conference tournament. And I think no matter who you match up with, I think we got somebody for each situation. And so I'm excited and happy about that.
And finally, on the national scene, NASCAR fans have to wait one more day for the biggest race of the year as the Daytona 500 is postponed. Race organizers announced that persistent rain at the International Speedway forced them to postpone the event. It's only the 3rd postponement in Daytona 500 history. The 200-lap, 500-mile race will now begin at 3 tomorrow afternoon. Rain and hundreds of miles per hour of speed, not a good combination, especially, on the Super Bowl for NASCAR. So want to see a nice dry track for all those drivers that are going to try and win the biggest race of their life.
Exactly. All right. Thank you very much, Daniel.
Yep.
Thank you. And stick with us. 2 police officers and 1 paramedic were killed earlier today in Minneapolis after they responded to a domestic call. Those full details are next.
Every day we want them to go home to their families. Every day we pray that they go home to their families. And today, that's not happening.
We're learning more about that deadly standoff in Minnesota that claimed the life of 2 officers and a firefighter paramedic. Law enforcement says an armed man in the suburbs of Minneapolis barricaded himself inside a home with his family.
The incident, which lasted several hours, escalating into an exchange of gunfire. Here's ABC's Jay O'Brien with the details from Washington.
Tragedy unfolding early Sunday morning in Burnsville, Minnesota, 15 miles outside of Minneapolis. 2 police officers and 1 firefighter shot and killed.
I need that ambulance to 33rd Avenue, and I need 2 additional ambulances.
Authorities say officers Paul Elmstrand and Matthew Rudge, along with firefighter Adam Finseth, were killed after responding to a report of an armed man barricaded with family. Numerous law enforcement agencies later arriving on scene, including ATF agents.
Every day we want them to go home to their families. Every day we pray that they go home to their families. And today that's not happening.
Authorities say the suspect also died. In a statement, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz writing, "We must never take for granted the bravery and sacrifices our police officers and first responders make every day." The governor also saying other officers were injured. First responders and medical personnel gathering as the bodies of the fallen officers and firefighter arrived at the hospital in Minneapolis, followed by a procession from the hospital to the medical examiner's office.
We are all hurting. Our officers, our fire department, our families, all of our staff, our community. We're heartbroken.
The governor ordering flags to be flown at half staff across the state on Monday to honor the fallen.
Presidential candidate Nikki Haley is slamming former President Donald Trump over his comments about NATO and Russia. Last week, Trump encouraged Russia to, quote, do whatever they want to a NATO member that didn't meet certain spending guidelines. Haley says comments like that gives the Russian president more power.
When you hear Donald Trump say in South Carolina a week ago that he would encourage Putin to invade our allies if they weren't pulling their weight, that's bone-chilling, because all he did in that one moment was empower Putin. And all he did in that moment was he sided with a guy that kills his political opponents. He sided with a thug that arrests American journalists and holds them hostage. And he sided with a guy who wanted to make a point to the Russian people, don't challenge me in the next election or this will happen to you too.
Haley's comments comes after Trump was fined $355 million in the New York fraud trial.
Well, another check on the weather, certainly with temps in the 30s. It's a cold night, and we'll sort of lay this out for you hour by hour. We get to after midnight, and you can see how that pulls into the low 30s and sunrise right here in this time frame. And look how quickly it starts to become milder as we look to the mid-morning hours. So our low overnight right there near 30 with a lot of frost to be expected in a lot of areas. And tomorrow, a push into the low end of the 60s as we look to the afternoon. That's about average, starting below average, but a wild swing, a 30-degree swing in temperatures to top out near 63 in the afternoon. But noting a southeast wind, sunshine tomorrow, and the sunshine that follows will push us into the mid and upper 70s by the mid part of the week. Those forecast details I'm glad to pass along in just a few minutes.
The U.S. says it's conducted 5 strikes against anti-cruise missiles and vessels belonging to the Houthi rebel group in the Red Sea yesterday. This is the first time the Houthis have used an unmanned underwater vessel since the start of the attacks in the region, according to U.S. Central Command.
Meanwhile, dozens were killed in Israeli airstrikes that hit central Gaza yesterday, according to a doctor at a local hospital. Rick Demagilla has the latest.
The U.S. military has conducted a new round of strikes against Houthi rebel targets in the Red Sea. These new strikes include targeting what U.S. Central Command says is the first unmanned underwater vessel the Iranian-backed rebel group has used since the attacks in the Red Sea began. Meanwhile, dozens were killed in central Gaza after Israeli airstrikes struck there over the weekend. The World Health Organization and the Hamas-run health ministry in Gaza says the largest medical facility in Gaza is now out of commission following an Israeli raid.
Hamas has turned hospitals into command and control centers and hideouts for Hamas terrorists and commanders.
Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says he will press on with plans for a ground operation in Rafah.
Whoever is telling us not to operate in Rafah is telling us to lose the war.
Cries for a humanitarian ceasefire are also growing louder as a looming ground offensive gets closer.
The Security Council
should shoulder its responsibility and act immediately on stopping the fighting.
Roughly 1.5 million people are living in Rafah, many of them sheltering there and in desperate need of essentials.
I think if I'll get water today or not, and then I think about food. Will we gonna eat food today or not?
And still ahead tonight, former President Donald Trump hit the campaign trail one day after being fined $355 million by a New York judge. More after this. Former President Donald Trump hit the campaign trail one day after being fined $355 million by a New York judge, finding that Trump exaggerated the value of his properties.
Nikki Haley also on the trail in her home state with just 1 week until the South Carolina primary. Here's ABC's Johnny Fernandez with the latest.
One day after being fined $355 million in his civil fraud case, former President Donald Trump hit the campaign trail in 2 battleground states Saturday. Trump's first stop at a sneaker convention in Philadelphia, facing some boos from the audience.
It's a slightly different audience than I'm used to, but I love this audience. We have to go out and vote. We got to get young people out to vote.
The former president then traveling to Michigan.
This November, the great state of Michigan is going to tell crooked Joe Biden, you're fired.
His Republican rival, Nikki Haley, taking aim at the former president's legal troubles.
Then the campaign reports came out, and we saw that he spent $50 million of campaign contributions to his campaign on his personal court cases. Think about that.
But Haley is trailing 32 points behind Trump in her home state, with the South Carolina primary just a week away. Meanwhile, President Biden, in a call with President Zelensky, said Ukraine's withdrawal from the town of Avdiivka was tied to Congress's inability to pass further aid to help the country fight its war with Russia.
Look, the Ukrainian people have fought so bravely and heroically. They put so much on the line. And the idea that now, when they're running out of ammunition, we walk away, I find it absurd.
The Senate already passed funding for Ukraine, but the House has left for a 2-week break without considering the bill.
Please, everyone, remember that dictators do not go on vacation.
Before sending aid overseas, House Republicans demand that the U.S. secure its own borders.
Still to come, we have a beautiful week ahead. Our Neil Shaw has your weather update after this.
Now, with your Mega 3 Storm Team Doppler radar forecast, here's meteorologist Neil Shaw in the Mega 3 Storm Team Weather Center.
Once again, a good Sunday evening to you. A very quiet and chilly night in progress across the area as we take an overlook of the city lights here right along Common Street and I-20. Well, what we've seen is what we get for this evening, slowly dropping temperatures to the low end of the 30s. Still, the register there is 37 right here in Shreveport, and Texarkana at 41 at their regional airport. And Logansport, good evening to you there in DeSoto Parish at 34 degrees. And again, this will promote widespread frost across the area overnight. Temps near freezing. Well, the lone holdouts in the 40s will be Longview and Texarkana. So again, it's a chilly night. That's an update. Ruston has just dropped to 32, likewise to the Natchitoches area as well. Little band of cloud cover that'll drift into and through the area tomorrow, rather meaningless. Again, all the rainy weather across the state of Florida. By contrast, across the country, look at that huge storm system making its way into the Pacific Northwest. It'll be steered around our area. Have very mild weather coming out of Texas that will spread eastward across the deep south here. Take a look at all these mild temperatures. In fact, a northerly location like Tulsa, Oklahoma at 45, with Shreveport at 37. Heading to near 30 overnight, and then tomorrow a 30-degree swing in temperatures from the low 30s to the low 60s during the afternoon, which again, as a reminder, it is a federal holiday, and high temp right there around 63 in the afternoon. So again, we go from tomorrow morning with these low 30s to near 30, and then rebounds to 60 and just above. This is mid to late afternoon, as you can see. And then by Tuesday morning, here the minimum temperatures on Tuesday morning will be near 40, not quite as cold overnight, rebounding toward the mid 70s. And well, that's helped along by the south wind, not only for tomorrow, but also during the day on Tuesday. So again, that mild weather coupled with the sunshine will really make it nice, especially when we look to the Tuesday and Wednesday time frame, when the upper 70s to near 80 degrees for Thursday as well. Another weak front moves into and through the area on Thursday night and Friday. It won't bring any rain, but will cut the temperatures back by a few degrees, but nothing too ridiculous. As you see this and make plans accordingly. Again, not to editorialize, but I'm looking forward to it.
Well, after everything that January and February have thrown our way so far, it's nice to be looking towards some spring-like temperatures. Thank you very much,
You're right.
Neil.
We dodged the next bullet.
I agree. Thank you very much, Neil. We appreciate it. And stick around, everybody. Our Daniel Brown has highlights of LSU baseball and their big day in Baton Rouge.
Now, with Daniel Brown, you're watching KTBS 3 Sports.
Trey Holly's record-breaking career at Union Parish earned him plenty of praise and attention coming to LSU. That's one of the reasons why his arrest for 3 felonies this past week was so shocking, but Holly says he's 100% innocent. The redshirt freshman made the declaration in a social media post Saturday evening saying he was falsely identified, accused, and arrested. Holly adds that he was at home, which is where the incident took place, and because it's an ongoing investigation, he cannot give many details. Reports say it stems from a fight in early February where a man and a woman were shot. For more information about Holly's arrest and the incident itself, you can find the story on the KTBS app or visit online at ktbs.com/sports. Changing gears now, LSU baseball had to sweat out their first 2 games of the season, but Sunday afternoon was a much different story in their rematch against VMI. The Tigers already up 2-0 in the first. Jarrett Jones at the plate. Fly ball to center field. Andrew Jones trying to find it in the sun, and he cannot. Falls behind him. He ran too far, and Brady Neal had to hold it second. He scores easily. Jones booking it to third for the triple. 5-0 LSU after 1. Top 2, the Cadets with a runner on first, and Brady Neal throws out the runner. Trey Morgan not having a good day for the Cadets. Stephen Milan with the tag. Bottom third, 2 in scoring position for Michael Braswell the third. Cole Jenkins trying to make the diving grab. He cannot. Braswell on his horse makes it to second safely off of Clark Driscoll. LSU up 7-0. Same inning, 8-0 now. Bases loaded for Brady Neal, and he rips one to right field. 6 RBI. Pretty good game. The Tigers win it 27-5 in 7 innings. Turning our attention to basketball, Louisiana Tech's win against last place FIU was expected, considering the Bulldogs are tied for first place in Conference USA, but that doesn't mean it was easy. The Bulldogs held a 17-point lead at the end of the first half, but with that comfortable margin, Tech was outscored by 10 in the second to give the Panthers some life. Head coach Talvin Hester says the lack of focus was something he blames on himself, but he was happy how other guys showed they can be an option down the final stretch of the regular season.
I think it showed our team and myself and my staff that we can believe in some other guys and get guys some rest for longer periods of time. I think that, within the last homestand, I think different guys showing they can play different styles. I think that, ultimately, along with the conference race, we got to go to a conference tournament. And I think no matter who you match up with, I think we got somebody for each situation. And so I'm excited and happy about that.
And lastly, we'll hit the course at Riviera for the final round of the Genesis Invitational. Xander Schauffele in the bunker on 11. This is his third shot on the par 5, and he sinks it out the sand. Check out his reaction on the replay. He finished in a tie for 4th at 13 under. The guy tearing up the course in a good way was Hideki Matsuyama. He was 6 shots behind the leader at the start of his round, but steadily working his way up the leaderboard throughout the day with shots like this on the par 5 15. Matsuyama with a final round 62, the lowest ever in the closing round by the winner. 3 shots clear of second place at 17 under. A 3-shot win in a tournament like this, you might as well have lapped the field. So a great day for Hideki in LA Riviera, one of the greatest courses in the world, let alone the country. So a good night, a good day for him.
Amazing stuff to see. Thank you, Daniel. Yep. And thank you for sticking with us. A final check of your weather is coming on up.
Now, KTBS 3 News continues.
About a month and a half into the year, but it feels like a gauntlet weather-wise. But Neil, there may be some sunshine at the end of this tunnel.
I think we deserve this, yes, to answer your question. No question about that. We had the sunshine today, but the chilly afternoon as we look to the mid-50s that we experienced, dropping to near 30 overnight, and that may not quite hold it. It may actually get below freezing in some spots and then touch on about 63 tomorrow afternoon. But here's what you speak of, Madison, Chelsea, you too. I know how much you love the sunshine and milder temperatures. When you're looking at near 80 later in the week, well, that's a forecast that is a keeper.
And that's the Louisiana weather that I know and love. Thank you, Neil.
And that wraps up KPXJ News at 9. We thank you for joining us.